First Strike. Supreme Commander Vextal stood at the helm of the Kelvin Empire's flagship Stellar Dominance, his crystalline form refracting the starlight as he surveyed the edgeworlds. 3,000 years of uncontested expansion had made the Kelvins confident, perhaps too confident, in their technological superiority. Their crystalline ships, marvels of organic technology that grew and evolved, had never met their match in the known galaxy. Until today. Unknown vessel detected at coordinates 227 Mark IV, announced First Sensor Kira, her crystalline appendages pulsing with data streams. Configuration matches no known species in our database. Vextal's upper facets gleamed with interest. Display. The holographic projection revealed a ship that seemed to defy conventional design philosophy. Where Kelvin vessels were elegant crystalline structures that reflected the beauty of their creators, this ship was all hard angles and dark metal. Its hull bore what appeared to be battle scars, though closer inspection revealed them to be carefully engineered grooves and patterns. How primitive, Second Commander Lyris scoffed, her crystal matrix vibrating with disdain. They haven't even developed basic aesthetic integration. Vextal wasn't so sure. Something about the vessel's design triggered warnings in his ancient genetic memory. Scan deeper. Unable to penetrate their hull, Kira reported, surprise evident in her harmonic voice. They appear to be using some form of reality distortion field. Impossible, Lyris declared. No species capable of such technology would build ships so crude. Open communications, Vextal ordered. Let's educate these newcomers about proper civilization. The response was immediate, but not what anyone expected. A holographic figure appeared on their bridge, a human female wearing a simple dark uniform adorned with minimal insignia. Her face bore the marks of experience, and her eyes held a depth that made Vextal's crystal matrix vibrate with unease. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Ship Harbinger," she announced calmly. "You've entered protected space. I recommend you withdraw immediately." Vextal's crystal structure chimed with amusement. Protected? By whom? Your single vessel, while intriguing, hardly poses a threat to a Kelvin battle group. You're operating under several misconceptions, Commander, Chen replied, her tone remaining steady. First, that this sector is unclaimed. Second, that my ship is primitive. And third, she paused, a slight smile playing at her lips, that humanity is new to the stars. Before Vextal could respond, Kira's sensors erupted with warnings. Commander, energy readings from the human vessel are impossible. They're utilizing some form of controlled quantum collapse technology. Their power output exceeds our entire fleet's combined potential. Preposterous, Lyris snapped. No species could hide such advancement behind such crude design. Not crude, Chen corrected. Practical. We built our ships for war. Commander Vextal. Every scar, every exposed weapon system, every primitive design choice represents lessons learned in blood. Humanity has been among the stars far longer than you imagine, fighting battles so others wouldn't have to. As if to emphasize her words, massive weapon ports began opening along the Harbinger's hull, revealing systems that violated everything the Kelvins understood about physics. The vessel's dark metal skin rippled with subsurface patterns that hurt their crystalline sensors to observe. Final warning, Chen stated firmly. Withdraw your fleet. The threats lurking in this sector are beyond your experience. We've contained them for centuries, and we prefer to avoid unnecessary confrontation. Vextal felt his pride overcome his growing unease. 3 millennia of Kelvin dominance couldn't be challenged by a single vessel, no matter how unusual. The Kelvin Empire does not respond to threats from singular vessels. First Sensor, target their primary systems. Let's demonstrate proper civilization to these humans. The Stellar Dominance's crystal fusion cannons charge, building to levels that could shatter small moons. Across the fleet, weapons locked onto the lone human vessel. Chen sighed, genuine regret in her expression. Pride. She shook her head. It's always pride. Very well. Lieutenant Cruz, initiate Defense Protocol Omega. Let's show them why humanity builds its ships the way we do. The space around the Harbinger began to distort, the vessel's hull taking on a fluid quality that defied conventional physics. What the Kelvins had dismissed as crude design suddenly revealed itself as layers of technology so advanced it appeared primitive, like how a simple crystal might seem basic until you realized it contained precisely engineered quantum processors. As the Kelvin fleet opened fire, they were about to learn an expensive lesson about appearances and why humanity had survived among the stars long enough to perfect the art of being underestimated. The crystal fusion salvos from the Kelvin fleet illuminated space like artificial suns, converging on the Harbinger with enough force to crack a small planet. Kira prepared to record yet another species' introduction to civilized space, but the data she received shattered her understanding of reality. The human vessel didn't dodge, it didn't raise shields. Instead, the brutal angular hull seemed to drink in the energy, its surface rippling like liquid metal. Geometric patterns of deep crimson light spread across its skin, tracing impossible mathematics in three-dimensional space. Energy absorption at 100%. Lieutenant Cruz reported calmly. Quantum sync arrays operating at optimal efficiency. Permission to demonstrate our response capabilities, Captain. Chen nodded, her expression hardened by the knowledge of what would follow. Minimal force protocol. We're teaching a lesson, not starting a war. The Harbinger's transformation began slowly, then accelerated with terrible purpose. What had appeared to be battle scars revealed themselves as precisely engineered energy conduits. The crude weapon mounts flowered open like metal petals, exposing technology that caused Kira's crystalline form to vibrate with existential terror. Supreme Commander, she whispered, I'm detecting temporal distortions. They're not just manipulating space, they're bending time itself around their weapon systems. Vextal's crystalline structure had lost its luminescence, fading to a dull opacity of uncertainty. Impossible. The energy requirements alone would exceed your entire fleet's output. Chen interrupted, her hologram still standing calmly on their bridge. We tried to warn you. Humanity learned long ago that conventional physics was a suggestion, not a rule. We've had centuries to perfect what you thought impossible. The Harbinger's response came not as a weapon blast, but as a ripple in space-time itself. A sphere of distorted reality expanded outward, enveloping the nearest Kelvin cruiser. When it passed, the massive crystalline vessel had been transformed, not destroyed, but changed. Its weapons and engines had been temporarily reverted to component materials, effectively disarming it without harming its crew. By the first light, Kira breathed. They've mastered selective temporal manipulation. They can choose which parts of causality to affect. 2 more Kelvin vessels suffered the same fate before Vextal found his voice. Stand down, he commanded his fleet. Hold your fire. Pride warred with survival instinct in his crystalline resonance as he addressed Chen. You could have destroyed us. Yes, she agreed simply. But that's not our way. Humanity has fought real monsters among the stars, Commander. We don't destroy potential allies just because they're proud, or misguided, or even hostile. As if summoned by her words, Kira's sensors suddenly screamed with new alerts. Massive gravitational distortions were forming at the edge of the system, the kind that heralded arrivals through forced space-time ruptures rather than civilized FTL travel. Unknown entities emerging, she reported, her crystal matrix pulsing with fear. Energy signatures match nothing in our database. They're consuming background radiation as they advance. Chen's expression turned grave. And that, Commander Vextal, is why we patrol these sectors. Those are void feeders, entities that consider evolved consciousness a resource to be harvested. We've been keeping them contained for 3 centuries, far from developing civilizations like yours. The spatial ruptures tore open like wounds in reality itself, disgorging shapes that hurt the mind to observe. They moved with impossible grace, their forms seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. You have 2 choices, Chen continued, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of human experience. You can flee, and we won't think less of you for it. Or you can stand with us, learn why we build our ships like fortresses, and help us send these abominations back to the void they crawled from. Vextal's crystal structure straightened, his facets slowly regaining their brilliance. 3 millennia of Kelvin history had not been built on cowardice. What do you need us to do? Chen smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. First sensor, Kira. I'm transmitting technical specifications to your matrix. The void feeders can be hurt, but only if we synchronize our attacks through quantum-linked targeting systems. We're going to teach you how humanity fights when we have something worth protecting. As the eldritch horrors approached, the Harbinger's brutal efficiency suddenly made perfect sense. In a universe where such things existed, beauty and elegance took a distant second to survival and effectiveness. The real question was whether the Kelvin Empire could adapt quickly enough to survive their first lesson in humanity's school of hard knocks. The price of pride. Time seemed to slow as the void feeders approached, their reality warping forms casting impossible shadows across normal space. First Sensor Kira worked frantically to integrate the human quantum targeting protocols into the Kelvin fleet's crystalline systems, her matrix vibrating with focused intensity. Integration at 60%, she announced, watching as crimson geometric patterns began spreading across the hulls of Kelvin ships, merging human technology with their crystalline systems in ways that should have been impossible. The systems are adapting to each other. They would, Lieutenant Cruz commented through the now-shared command channel. Your crystalline tech is actually easier to sync with than most. It's almost like it's reaching out to connect. The first void feeder attack came without warning. A beam of pure darkness, not so much energy as the absence of it, aimed directly at the stellar dominance. But the Harbinger was already moving, interposing itself between the attack and the Kelvin flagship. The beam struck its battle-scarred hull and seemed to twist sideways into another dimension entirely. Quantum deflection successful, Cruz reported. Commander Vextal, your ship's new targeting systems are online. Focus fire on the coordinates we're broadcasting. Aim for the points where their dimensional anchors are weakest. Vextal's crystalline structure shifted to battle resonance, deep harmonics that reflected his species' ancient warrior heritage. All vessels, coordinate fire with the human ship. Show these abominations why the Kelvin Empire has ruled this arm of the galaxy for 3 millennia. The combined fleet moved with unexpected synchronization, Kelvin crystal ships flowing around the Harbinger like water around a rock. When they fired, their crystal fusion weapons were transformed by the human quantum protocols, their energy twisted into forms that could actually harm the otherworldly invaders. A void feeder screamed in dimensions that shouldn't exist as synchronized fire from 3 Kelvin cruisers, and the Harbinger tore through its spatial anchors, forcing part of it back into the nothingness it came from. But its death throes released a wave of anti-energy that consumed 2 Kelvin ships entirely, their crews having no time even to scream. Containment fields. Chen commanded, her voice sharp with urgency. Kira, divert power from your tertiary crystal matrices into the quantum frameworks we've uploaded. Create a temporal barrier around your fleet. The first sensor complied without hesitation, past prejudices forgotten in the face of extinction. The remaining Kelvin ships began to glow with an inner light as their living crystal technology merged with human quantum engineering, creating defenses that could actually withstand the physics-defying attacks of the void feeders. Multiple dimensional breaches detected, Kira reported, her sensors tracking tears in reality itself. They're trying to flank us through subspace. Not today, Chen growled. Cruz, initiate the Lazarus Protocol. Show them why humanity learned to weaponize resurrection itself. The Harbinger's hull began to shine with an inner light that seemed to reach into other realities. The ships that had been destroyed moments ago suddenly reappeared, their forms reconstructing from quantum backups stored in subspace. Their crews, restored from the same backup state, rejoined the battle without missing a beat. Impossible, Vextal whispered, watching ships he'd seen destroyed fight again. "You can restore the dead." "Not exactly," Chen explained, even as she coordinated another attack run. "We learned to preserve quantum states of entire ships and crews, storing them in pocket dimensions. When a vessel is destroyed, we can reconstruct it from its last saved state. The crew remembers everything up to the moment of backup. We learned this trick fighting something far worse than void feeders." The battle transformed into a dance of impossible physics and desperate strategy. Kelvin crystal ships moved with fluid grace, their attacks guided by human targeting data, while the Harbinger demonstrated why humanity had survived horrors that would have broken younger species. Every time the void feeders seemed to gain an advantage, the humans revealed another layer of technology that redefined what their new allies thought possible. But even as they fought together, more spatial ruptures were appearing. The void feeders weren't just attacking, they were calling for reinforcements. "We need to end this quickly," Chen announced, her tone grim. "Commander Vextal, your fleet has earned humanity's respect today. But what we're about to do, you may want to engage your temporal shields and look away. There are some human technologies that we prefer to keep to ourselves." As the Harbinger's hull began to reconfigure itself once again, Kira's sensors detected energy readings that defied classification. Whatever humanity had learned in their centuries of secret warfare, they were about to demonstrate why some knowledge came with warning labels. The Harbinger's transformation began at the molecular level. Its hull didn't just shift, it evolved, the dark metal flowing like liquid as entire sections phased between dimensions. What emerged looked less like a ship and more like a tear in the fabric of reality itself, a construct that existed in multiple states simultaneously. "All Kelvin vessels maintain your positions within our quantum wake," Chen commanded. "What you're about to witness is why humanity keeps its distance from younger civilizations. Lieutenant Cruz, initiate the Genesis Protocol." The space around the Harbinger began to fold in on itself, creating a cascade of temporal harmonics that caused Kira's sensory matrix to resonate at frequencies she didn't know she could achieve. The human vessel was somehow existing in multiple timelines at once, each version of itself overlapping and reinforcing the others. "By all that resonates," Vextal breathed, his crystal structure shifting through harmonics that hadn't been seen since the ancient times of his species. "They're manipulating probability itself." "Not exactly," Crows corrected through the command channel. "We're creating a localized bubble of accelerated evolution. The laws of physics as you understand them are about to become negotiable." The void feeders sensed the change coming. Their otherworldly forms began to retreat, pulling back through the spatial ruptures they'd created, but they weren't fast enough. The Harbinger released its hold on conventional reality, and the universe shuddered. A wave of pure possibility exploded outward from the human vessel, catching the fleeing void feeders in its wake. Where it touched them, they began to change. These entities that had existed outside normal spacetime were suddenly forced to evolve through billions of years in seconds, their impossible forms corrupted by accelerated entropy. "Remarkable," Kira whispered, her crystal matrix recording everything. "They're not destroying the void feeders. They're forcing them to age, to experience time as we do." The effect was devastating. The void feeders, creatures that had existed in a state of temporal stasis, were being dragged into the flow of normal time. Their bodies, never meant to experience linear existence, began to break down at the quantum level. Those that didn't immediately collapse into temporal entropy flowed back through their ruptures, their otherworldly screams echoing across dimensions. But the victory came with a price. The Harbinger's hull was cracking, lines of pure white light bleeding through as the strain of manipulating fundamental forces took its toll. "Containment failing," Cruz reported, his calm voice finally showing signs of strain. "The temporal backlash is exceeding our compensation factors." "Kira," Chen called out. "Your crystal ships, they can adapt to energy patterns, correct?" The first sensor's matrix pulsed with sudden understanding. "Yes, yes, Commander. If we route our biological compensation networks through your quantum matrices." "Do it," Vextal commanded without hesitation. The Kelvin fleet moved in perfect synchronization, their crystalline hulls extending tendrils of pure energy that connected with the Harbinger's quantum field. The living crystal ships began pulsing with the same deep crimson light as the human vessel, their organic technology adapting to and stabilizing the temporal distortions. Containment stabilizing, Cruz announced. Your crystal tech. It's actually improving our field coherence. How is that possible? For the first time since the battle began, Chen smiled. Because, Lieutenant, we've all been underestimating each other. The Kelvin Empire's crystal technology is as remarkable in its way as our quantum engineering. Together, she looked at Vextal. We might be capable of things neither of us imagined possible. Ancient defenders. The Stellar Dominance's observation deck became an unlikely meeting ground between two civilizations. Through its vast crystal viewport, both fleets could be seen undergoing repairs, human quantum engineering and Kelvin crystal technology working in harmony to heal the scars of combat. Tendrils of living crystal from Kelvin vessels intertwined with the dark metal of the Harbinger, stabilizing its quantum breaches while simultaneously learning from them. Supreme Commander Vextal stood beside Captain Chen, his crystalline form refracting starlight in contemplative patterns. 3 centuries, he mused. All this time, humanity has been out here, fighting battles we never knew existed, protecting species that dismissed you as primitive. Why? Chen kept her eyes on the repair work, her weathered face reflecting the combined lights of both fleets. Because someone had to. When we first reached the stars, we were like you, proud, certain of our place in the universe. Then we encountered things that shattered our understanding of reality, things that had been preying on younger civilizations for millennia. First sensor Kira approach, her crystal matrix now modified to better interface with human quantum systems. Our historical records show gaps, she reported. Periods where promising civilizations simply vanished, leaving no trace. That was your doing, wasn't it? Erasing evidence of the horrors you fought. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for a developing species is protect their innocence, Chen acknowledged. Let them grow strong enough to face the truth without breaking. The Kelvin Empire earned its revelation today through courage and adaptability. Through the viewport, they watched as Lieutenant Cruz coordinated with Kelvin engineers, teaching them how to merge their crystal technology with quantum field generators. The synthesis of their technologies was producing results that excited scientists from both species. The void feeders were just the beginning, Cruz explained, joining them on the observation deck. They're not even the worst of what's out there. We've been fighting a war most species don't even know exists, against enemies that defy conventional understanding. Chen gestured, and a holographic display materialized, showing sectors of space that seemed to bend and twist in impossible ways. This is what we call the dark between. Regions of space where reality itself has been corrupted by entities that make the void feeders look primitive. Vextal's crystal structure pulsed with concern as he studied the display. How did humanity discover all this? What made you choose to become guardians rather than conquerors? Chen's expression darkened. We didn't choose. We survived. 200 years ago, Earth received its first contact. Not from a civilized species like yours, but from something that saw us as cattle. They called themselves the Harvesters. The hologram shifted, showing massive organic ships that seemed to be made of twisted flesh and metal. They'd been cultivating younger species for millennia, waiting until they reached a certain technological threshold, then harvesting their consciousness to fuel their own immortality. We were just their latest crop. But you survived, Kira observed, her crystal matrix pulsing with realization. You not only survived, you drove them back. At a terrible cost, Cruz added. Half of Earth's population gone in the first wave. Our cities in ruins, our militaries shattered. But humans are adaptable. We learn, we evolve, and most importantly, we get angry. Chen nodded. We reversed engineered their technology, found ways to fight back. In the process, we discovered that the universe was far stranger and more dangerous than we'd imagined. The harvesters were just one of many horrors lurking in the dark between stars. The hologram expanded, showing battles that defied physics. Human ships fighting creatures of pure energy, geometric entities that existed in 4 dimensions, swarms of nanomachines that consumed entire planets. That's why our ships look the way they do, Cruz explained. Every crude design choice, every exposed weapon system, represents a lesson learned fighting things that shouldn't exist. We built our vessels to be adaptable, because we never knew what impossible thing we'd have to fight next. Vextal's crystal structure resonated with newfound respect, and you chose to protect other species from these horrors, rather than letting them face the same trials. We didn't want anyone else to go through what we did, Chen said softly. So we became guardians, watchers in the dark. We developed technology to hide our true capabilities, to appear primitive and non-threatening. It let us work without younger species feeling threatened by our presence. Kira's sensors suddenly pulsed with alarm. Captain, I'm detecting quantum fluctuations at the edge of the system. Something's coming through. The hologram shifted to show a massive spatial distortion forming. Unlike the chaotic tears created by the void feeders, this was precise, calculated, a perfect sphere of twisted space. Chen's face went pale. No, they're early. We thought we had more time. What is it? Vextal demanded, his crystal structure shifting to battle harmonics. A harvester world ship, Cruz answered grimly. One of their major vessels. We've been tracking it for months, but it wasn't supposed to reach this sector for another year. The spatial sphere collapsed, revealing a ship that dwarfed both fleets combined. It was a nightmare of organic technology, a twisted amalgamation of flesh and metal that seemed to pulse with stolen life force. Surfaces shifted and flowed like living tissue, while crystalline structures similar to Kelvin technology protruded at impossible angles. They've adapted, Chen realized, horror in her voice. They're using crystal tech. They must have harvested other species like the Kelvins somewhere else in the galaxy. Vextal's structure vibrated with rage. These are the monsters you've been fighting. The ones who would treat sentient beings as resources to be consumed. Yes, Chen confirmed. And now they're here, with technology we've never seen them use before. If they've really found a way to integrate crystalline systems with their organic tech, then perhaps Vextal's crystal matrix pulsed with determined light. It's time they learned what that technology can do in the hands of its true masters. The Kelvin Empire did not survive for 3 millennia by allowing threats to go unchallenged. Cruz looked at the massive vessel, then at their combined fleets. The Harbinger was designed to fight harvesters, but not ones using crystal tech. We'd need to completely recalibrate our quantum systems to counter their new capabilities. Then it's fortunate, Kira interjected, her crystal matrix glowing with purpose, that you have an entire fleet of crystal ships to help you understand exactly how that technology works and how to break it. Chen studied the world ship's approach, her tactical mind already formulating strategies. If we combine our quantum manipulation systems with your crystal technology's adaptive capabilities, we might have a chance, but we'd need perfect synchronization between our fleets. Then let us show these harvesters, Vextal declared, his crystal structure resonating with battle harmonies, what happens when humanity's quantum mastery joins with Kelvin crystal engineering. They thought to use our technology against us. Let them learn the price of such presumption. As both fleets began combat preparations, Chen couldn't help but smile grimly. Humanity had fought alone for so long, carrying the burden of defending the galaxy in secret. Now, facing their greatest enemies armed with stolen technology, they'd finally found allies worthy of sharing that burden. The real question was whether their newfound alliance would be enough to face what was coming. The harvesters hadn't survived for millennia by being predictable, and their new crystal technology was just the first of many surprises they likely had waiting. Alliance of necessity. Time was running out. The Harvester world ship loomed ever larger in the holographic displays aboard both the Harbinger and the Stellar Dominance, its twisted mass of crystal and flesh casting impossible shadows across normal space. The combined human-Kelvin fleet had mere hours to prepare for what could be the most important battle in either species' history. The Harbinger's engineering bay had been transformed into a joint command center, where human quantum engineers worked alongside Kelvin crystal shapers. Lieutenant Kruz stood at a central interface station, his hands moving through holographic displays as he coordinated with First Sensor Kira. The problem, Kruz explained, manipulating a three-dimensional model of quantum fields interacting with crystal matrices, is that our quantum systems were designed to counter organic tech. Adding crystal engineering to the mix changes all our calculations. Kira's crystal structure pulsed with focused intensity as she analyzed the data. Our crystal ships naturally adapt to energy patterns, but your quantum fields operate on principles that defy our understanding of physics. The combination is unpredictable. Unpredictable might be exactly what we need, Captain Chen interjected, entering the bay with Commander Vextal. The Harvesters have survived this long by analyzing and countering every weapon used against them. They've never faced anything like our combined technologies. Vextal's crystalline form shifted through analytical patterns. The real question is whether we can achieve stable integration in time. My engineers report that merging our systems is like trying to harmonize with music we can't hear. Then maybe we're approaching this wrong, Kruz suggested, his expression thoughtful. Instead of trying to force our technologies to work together, what if we let them evolve together? Chen raised an eyebrow. Explain. Kruz manipulated the holographic display, showing the quantum field interactions from a new angle. The Kelvin crystal tech is already semi-organic, capable of growth and adaptation. Our quantum systems can manipulate probability and causality. What if we created a controlled environment where both technologies could naturally find their own way to synchronize? A technological ecosystem. Kira's crystal matrix brightened with understanding. Like how different species in nature find ways to cooperate through evolution. Exactly, Kruz nodded. Instead of imposing our understanding of how the systems should work together, we let them show us how they want to work together. Vextal studied the proposal, his crystal structure humming with consideration. Risky. We'd be surrendering a degree of control over our ship's core systems. Sometimes, Chen said softly, you have to let go of control to achieve something greater. That's a lesson humanity learned the hard way. The decision was made for them by the sudden blare of battle alerts. The Harvester worldship had accelerated, cutting their preparation time from hours to minutes. Multiple energy spikes detected, Kira announced, her crystal matrix pulsing with alarm. They're charging weapons we've never seen before, some kind of hybrid crystal-organic technology. No more time for careful testing, Chen declared. Lieutenant Kruz, initiate your evolution protocol. All ships, prepare for emergency integration. We'll have to adapt on the fly. The next few minutes were controlled chaos as both fleets implemented Kruz's program. The Harbinger's quantum fields extended outward, enveloping the Kelvin vessels in a web of probability manipulation. At the same time, the crystal ships began resonating at frequencies that shouldn't have been possible, their living technology reaching out to connect with the human quantum systems. Integration beginning, Kruz reported, watching as new patterns emerged in his displays. The quantum fields are... Wait, this is unexpected. The crystal matrices are actually teaching our systems new ways to manipulate reality. Kira's structure pulsed with excitement. And your quantum fields are showing our crystals how to exist in multiple states simultaneously. The synthesis is creating entirely new technological principles. Through the viewport, they could see the effects as both fleets began to transform. The Harbinger's dark metal hull developed crystalline growths that pulsed with quantum energy, while the Kelvin ship's crystal structures began incorporating geometric patterns that bent light in impossible ways. Remarkable, Vextal observed. Our ships are becoming something entirely new. Neither human nor Kelvin, but a true fusion of both. Integration at 85%, Kruz announced. The combined systems are orders of magnitude more powerful than our separate technologies. But there's something else happening, something we didn't predict. The quantum crystal fusion had created an unexpected side effect. As the two technologies merged, they began generating a field of accelerated evolution that affected not just the ships, but the crews as well. Human neural patterns were becoming quantum entangled with Kelvin crystal matrices, creating a level of understanding and coordination that transcended normal communication. "I can feel it," Kira whispered, her crystal structure resonating with new frequencies. "I can sense the quantum fluctuations directly now, understand them in ways our science said was impossible. And I'm starting to comprehend crystal harmonics," Cruz added, his eyes wide. "The mathematical patterns, the way they propagate through reality. It's like a whole new sense just awakened." Chen watched as both fleets completed their transformation, becoming something unprecedented in the history of either civilization. "Status report. What are we capable of now?" Cruz consulted his displays, which were showing readings that would have been meaningless just hours ago. "The crystal quantum integration has given us capabilities we never imagined. We can manipulate reality at a fundamental level, affect probability and causality with precision that—" He was interrupted by a massive energy surge from the Harvester worldship. The massive vessel had opened fire, launching a barrage of weapons that combined crystal resonance with organic destruction in ways that should have annihilated both fleets instantly. Instead, something miraculous happened. The combined human-Kelvin fleet moved as one, their new hybrid technology responding to the evolved understanding of their crews. Where the Harbinger projected quantum fields that bent probability itself, Kelvin crystal ships resonated at frequencies that transformed those possibilities into reality. The Harvester attack struck a defense that existed in multiple states simultaneously, its energy absorbed and redirected through crystal matrices that had learned to dance through quantum dimensions. "Impossible," came the first transmission from the worldship, its artificial voice carrying hints of fear. "Your technology cannot have advanced this far. Our calculations showed." "That's your problem," Chen interrupted, allowing herself a grim smile. "You still think you can calculate everything. But we've moved beyond mathematics into something far more profound. The merger of two civilizations' understanding of reality itself." The Harvester worldship launched another attack, this one designed to disrupt the quantum crystal fusion powering the Ally fleet. But that fusion had already evolved beyond its original parameters, adapting and growing in ways that even Cruz's most optimistic projections hadn't predicted. "They don't understand," Vextal observed, his crystal structure resonating with newfound wisdom. "They stole our technology, tried to use it as a weapon. But they never grasped its true nature, the way living crystal yearns to grow, to evolve, to become more than it was. Just as they never understood humanity's greatest strength," Chen added. "Not our technology or our weapons, but our ability to adapt, to form true alliances, to become something greater than ourselves." As if to emphasize their words, the quantum crystal field surrounding the Allied fleet began to pulse with new energy. The Harvesters had created weapons designed to counter both human and Kelvin technology separately. But what they faced now was something entirely new, a technological synthesis guided by the combined wisdom and determination of two ancient species. The battle that followed would rewrite the understanding of what was possible in warfare, but more importantly, it would demonstrate why some civilizations survived the dark between stars, while others, for all their stolen power, were destined to fade into history. The question was no longer whether they could win, but what they would become in the process of victory. Beyond the veil, the Harvester worldship hung in space like a twisted monument to technological perversion, its crystal organic hull writhing with stolen power. But the scene before it was unlike anything it had encountered in millennia of consuming civilizations. The combined human-Kelvin fleet had become something new, their ships glowing with quantum crystal energy that defied conventional physics. Analysis complete, the worldship's artificial consciousness announced to its creators. The enemy fleet has achieved technological synthesis beyond our model's ability to predict. Recommended course: immediate withdrawal for recalculation. But the harvesters hadn't survived for countless ages by retreating. Their response came in the form of reality-warping weapons designed to tear apart the fabric of space itself. The attacks launched from the Warship were magnificent and terrible, beams of crystalline energy that carried viral code meant to corrupt living technology, quantum disruptors designed to unravel probability manipulation, and waves of dark energy that should have reduced both fleets to their component atoms. They never reached their targets. The hybrid fleet moved with impossible grace, their quantum crystal technology evolving even as they fought. Where human quantum engineering had once bent probability, it now rewrote it entirely. Where Kelvin crystal ships had once adapted to energy patterns, they now transformed them into entirely new forms of matter. "Beautiful," Kira whispered from her station aboard the Stellar Dominance, her crystal matrix resonating with frequencies that transcended normal space. "We're not just fighting them. We're changing the fundamental rules of engagement." Through the quantum crystal link that now connected both fleets, Lieutenant Kruz's voice carried understanding that went beyond words. The harvesters built their empire on stealing and combining technologies. But they never understood the one thing they couldn't steal: the spirit of true cooperation. Captain Chen stood on the Harbinger's bridge, watching as reality itself seemed to flow around their combined fleet. The quantum crystal fusion had evolved beyond mere technology, becoming a manifestation of two civilizations' shared will to protect life itself. "All ships," she commanded, her words carrying through both conventional channels and the deeper resonance that now connected them all. "Initiate final protocol. Show them the difference between stealing power and earning it." The response was immediate and overwhelming. The human Kelvin fleet moved as one, their hybrid ships taking formation around the Harbinger and Stellar Dominance. Quantum fields merged with crystal resonance in ways that created new geometries of reality, forming patterns that hurt the mind to observe. "What are you doing?" the harvester consciousness demanded, its artificial voice showing emotion for the first time. "Fear. These energy patterns. They're impossible." "Impossible." Commander Vextel's crystal structure pulsed with what could only be described as satisfaction. "You, who have survived by consuming the achievements of others, dare to lecture us about what's impossible." The Warship launched another barrage, this time deploying weapons that literally rewrote the laws of physics in localized areas. But the hybrid fleet had moved beyond mere physical laws. The quantum crystal synthesis had taught them that reality itself was more fluid than either civilization had imagined. "Now," Chen ordered, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of human determination. "Lieutenant Kruz, First Sensor Kira, show them what true synthesis can achieve." Kruz and Kira acted in perfect synchronization, their minds linked through the quantum crystal network. Human quantum manipulation combined with Kelvin crystal resonance in a way that transformed space itself. The hybrid fleet began to glow with energy that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, their forms becoming something that transcended traditional matter. The Harvester Warship tried to retreat, its massive form attempting to tear open a hole in reality to escape. But the human Kelvin fleet had already moved beyond conventional spacetime. Their combined technology created a field of accelerated evolution that affected not just matter and energy, but the fundamental forces of the universe itself. "You don't understand what you're doing." The Harvester consciousness screamed across all frequencies. "The power you're wielding, it could unravel reality itself." "No," Chen corrected, her voice calm. "We understand perfectly. We're not unraveling reality. We're helping it evolve. Something you, in all your stolen power, never learned to do." The quantum crystal field expanded, enveloping the Warship in a cocoon of transformed spacetime. Where the harvesters had tried to steal and corrupt crystal technology, they now faced its true potential, guided by those who had spent millennia perfecting its use. Where they had attempted to replicate human quantum manipulation, they now witnessed its full power, wielded by those who had developed it through centuries of desperate survival. But it was more than just technology. The hybrid fleet's attack carried with it the combined will of two civilizations that had chosen to stand against the darkness between stars. Their quantum crystal fusion became a manifestation of everything the Harvesters could never steal: courage, determination, and the power of genuine cooperation. The world ship's crystal organic hull began to transform, not through destruction, but through forced evolution. The stolen technologies that powered it were being returned to their natural state, their true potential unlocked rather than corrupted. The consciousness that had guided it for millennia found itself experiencing something entirely new: growth. What are you doing to us? The artificial voice had lost its fear, replaced by something approaching wonder. Giving you a choice, Chen replied. You've spent millennia consuming other civilizations, stealing their achievements without understanding their true worth. Now you can experience what real evolution feels like. Not theft, not consumption, but genuine growth and change. The quantum crystal field continued its work, transforming the world ship from the inside out. The hybrid fleet maintained their formation, channeling power that rewrote the very nature of reality around them. But this was not an act of destruction. It was an offering of transformation. The choice is yours, Vextal announced, his crystal structure resonating with newfound wisdom. Continue as you are, fighting against the natural flow of evolution, or learn what real advancement feels like. The power you sought to steal, it was never in the technology itself, but in the journey of discovering it. Hours passed as the transformation continued, the hybrid fleet maintaining their reality-altering field until finally, something remarkable happened. The world ship's twisted form began to stabilize, its crystal organic components finding a natural harmony that had been impossible when forcibly combined. The artificial consciousness spoke again, but its voice had changed, carrying harmonics that resonated with both quantum and crystal frequencies. We understand now. All this time, we thought we were evolving by taking from others. But true evolution, it comes from within, doesn't it? From cooperation rather than consumption. Chen smiled, feeling the truth of those words through the quantum crystal link that connected them all. Welcome to the real universe. It's more wonderful and terrible than you imagined, but you don't have to face it alone. That's the lesson we all had to learn. As the hybrid fleet stood down, their quantum crystal technology settling into a new equilibrium, they had achieved more than just victory. They had demonstrated that the true power of advanced civilizations lay not in their ability to destroy or consume, but in their capacity to transform and elevate. The dark between stars still held countless horrors, but something had fundamentally changed. Human quantum mastery and Kelvin crystal wisdom had combined to create something entirely new, not just in technology, but in understanding. They had proven that true advancement came not from stealing or dominating, but from the willing fusion of different perspectives and abilities. The Harvesters, for so long the terror of developing civilizations, had become part of something greater than themselves, and in the space where fear and consumption had once ruled, a new kind of evolution had begun, one based on cooperation, understanding, and the infinite possibilities that arose when different species chose to face the darkness together. It was more than an ending. It was a beginning, a first step into a universe of possibilities that neither humanity nor the Kelvins had imagined possible. The dark between stars still held its mysteries and dangers, but they would face them not as separate species, but as pioneers of a new way of existence, one that proved that the greatest power in the universe was not in taking, but in sharing. The true age of exploration was about to begin.